Welcome back to the Multi-Orgasmic Millionaire Lovers. Today's episode is all about sexual healing. Doing the sexual healing work together versus maybe solo. Well, what is sexual healing? Why do we need to talk about this? How do you even know if it's something that you need? Of course, all of us know the song Sexual Healing. When I get that feeling, I want sexual healing. You know what I'm talking about, right? So, yes, that song, sexual healing, what does that even mean? How do we know we even need that? Well, a couple of ways that you're going to know that you need sexual healing is if you experience a shutdown around your sexuality. Maybe you feel really shy, maybe you feel embarrassed, maybe you have some confidence issues, maybe you feel a lot of shame or guilt, or you just have a lot of fear about exploring or trying anything outside of the box or new. You're also going to know that you need sexual healing if you're hypersexual, if you don't know what to do with all of that sexual energy. And maybe you're really sexually promiscuous, you sleep with lots of people, or you just don't feel really good about your sexuality because it's gotten you into trouble. That's another way that you will know if you need sexual healing. And the obvious, if you've ever experienced any sexual abuse, a sexual assault, a sexual trauma, sexual molestation, anything like that growing up, or even in your adulthood, then you know you're going to be in need of some sexual healing at some point in your life. That's right. Now, there are two ways to go about this. You can do it on your own. And if you're in a relationship and you have a willing partner, you can do it with your partner, which is a super cool thing. I'm going to share with you today the 4 ways that your relationship is going to transform when you do the sexual healing work together. I was very fortunate when I started my sexual awakening healing journey. I grew up with lots of shame and guilt around my sexuality that had me feeling really insecure and shut down. Well, when I started to recognize my blocks, I was more of the shut down and not feeling confident in my body. And when I started my sexuality awakening journey, I started with the jade egg practice. The jade egg is a Taoist practice that comes from traditional Chinese medicine. And it is a beautiful practice for a woman to use to help her awaken her sexuality, heal her sexuality from the inside out. And of course, that's a solo journey. So I did a little bit of that work, and I really overcame a lot of the guilt and the shame that I grew up with around my body and my pleasure. And I became multi-orgasmic after practicing with the jade egg for a couple of months very quickly. But then soon after that, my partner and I did a sexuality program, a sexuality coaching program with another coach. And we learned sexual healing techniques and things to do with each other that completely took our sex life next level. So I'm going to tell you about the ways that your relationship will transform if you choose to do this healing work together. All right, stay tuned. And just know that if this is of interest to you, my Epic Sex Blueprint couples coaching program is currently open for enrollment now through July 8th. I have an early bird bonus rate that is only going to be open through June 30th. So if you sign up between now and June 30th, you're going to get the early bird rate. If you wait, you're going to pay more. And I only have spots for 2 couples for the entire rest of 2024. So if you want to do this work with me, now is the time, my loves. You're going to finish before Christmas time, which is why we're doing it right now, because no one wants to do this during the holidays. Everybody's traveling. Everybody's focused on their family. I get it. Me too. I like to take the time off. So we're going to start now so you can be done before Christmas and the holidays. So go to the link in the show notes. Get your call booked. Apply. You're going to book the call time. You're going to be asked a couple of questions to fill out. We're going to hop on a Zoom call. We're going to get to know each other, and we're going to talk about if this is the right next step for you and figure out if it's a good fit. And if so, I'll invite you into the program, and then we'll lock it down, my loves. All right. Stay tuned for 4 ways your relationship transforms after doing sexual healing work together. Welcome to the Multi-Orgasmic Millionaire Podcast, where sexual liberation meets financial empowerment. Join me, Tilly Storm, top 20 sex coach worldwide, on my own journey to becoming a multi-orgasmic millionaire through the mystical art of sex magic, financial savvy, and guidance from my very own mystical yoni oracle. I'm going to reveal how I'm turning orgasms into cold, hard cash. Get ready to dive deep and discover the secrets to living a life of abundance on your own multi-orgasmic terms. So the first way that your relationship is going to transform after doing sexual healing work together is you're gonna have a deeper emotional connection. Yes. All right. What does sexual healing even involve? I'm sure some of you are really curious about that. What it involves is 2 different types of things. One, doing somatic work to heal the body of the sexual trauma itself. Soma means body. It's a root word for body. Somatic is all about going into the body to discover where in the body is the body holding tension and trauma. And the way that this is done is through techniques like penis massage and pussy massage. Because if we've experienced sexual trauma, if we have negative conditioning from our religion or society or our parents, just stories we picked up from our parents about pleasure, about self-pleasure, about relationship in general, about sexuality, any of these things, when we're growing up, we're picking up all of these messages. And these messages end up taking hold in our body. And our body literally responds to these messages by creating tension and stress or ease and flow. One or the other. Tension, stress, ease or flow. Which way are we interpreting the information that we're getting? Well, sadly and unfortunately, most of us are interpreting these negative messages because they're negative as tension and stress. And then the body, aka the vaginal wall itself, the cervix, all of the pelvic organs in the female body, and then the penis, the testes, the sexual organs in the male body, we absorb the tension and stress like a sponge. And that actually creates areas of numbness or disconnection. So if you're a man and you're like, oh my goodness, it's so hard to get off, it takes forever, or I feel like, I've got to have more and more and more stimulation, that is likely because you feel numb. And why do you feel numb? You feel numb because of all of the crap your body is literally storing from years and years and decades of negative sexual conditioning and probably porn and probably really terrible messages from porn, and you touching your body with way more stimulation than it actually needs in order to experience pleasure. And if you're a woman, same thing, right? All of the messages, all of the stories, all of the things that happen to you around your pleasure and your sexuality and relationship in general, they're going to be stored like little knots on your shoulders in your vaginal muscles and on your cervix. When you do sexual healing work together, you are learning the techniques of penis massage and pussy massage, penis shiatsu, pussy shiatsu, all sorts of different techniques to help release those areas of tension and stress. And at first, it's not very fun, okay? You go through this whole process of releasing lots and lots and lots of emotional baggage that you've been holding on to for far too long. And it is an intense process. No one gonna lie to you about that. And I am not even gonna put a front of like, oh, it's so much fun. No, like, we're going to the depths of your being here. We're literally going into your body and tilling up all of the freaking garbage that's in there. We're going to bring it to the surface and then we're going to look at it. Okay. And that's where the magic happens. But we can't get to it if you're so numb and disconnected from your body that you can't even tap into what's in there. So when your partner does a healing penis massage or a healing pussy massage, your partner is being taught the exact tools and techniques that if I were an in-person practitioner, I would do for you. Except I'm not, because I don't work like that. I don't touch people's bodies in any way, shape, or form except for my own partners. So that is not something I do, but I give you the techniques and I empower you to know exactly how to do that for your partner, which is the beauty of this whole process, right? So the somatic piece is giving you the tools and techniques to de-armor each other's bodies. And by giving you the exact practices that I've done on myself, that I've learned from my teachers, to take me from being shut down and shy and not really experiencing much pleasure in my vaginal area to becoming multi-orgasmic, having 8 different types of orgasmic experiences, to having exquisite pleasure down there that I never knew even existed. So that only becomes available to you if you are willing to dive into the depths and feel the not so fun things too. Because I went into the not fun things, because I did the de-armoring processes, because my partner did them for me, and I cried my eyes out, and I released all sorts of emotion. To the depth that I was able to go in those instances, that was the exact opposite that I was able to go in terms of experiencing all of the pleasure. And that is exactly how it happens. You're only going to experience the pleasure to the extent that you experience the not fun stuff, the pain, whatever you want to call it. I wouldn't really consider it painful, but it's intense and it's not the most fun thing to do. But after doing pussy massage and my partner doing that on me about 8 to 9 times, it's like everything just became neutral. And yeah, I had some intense emotional releases. My body was releasing decades of religious programming that wasn't serving me anymore. And eventually, it became extremely pleasurable. So we went from pussy massage being something that was highly emotional and supercharged to something that was kind of neutral. And then eventually something that was exquisitely pleasurable, where I would have just waves and waves of orgasmic experiences in all of the different ways that you can have an orgasm from your pussy. So all of the cervical orgasms, the A-spot orgasms, the G-spot orgasms, the squirting, all of it. But that didn't become available to me until I went through the de-armoring processes first. So now you can't sit here and tell me that when that happens, you don't feel a stronger emotional connection to your partner. There's no freaking way that you couldn't, right? Because you've just held your partner through this extremely intense emotional experience. And I teach you guys how to do this in the Epic Sex Blueprint program. So this becomes available to you when you have the courage and heart to go there. Sexual healing with each other can happen, but it's not for the faint of heart. It's not for people who just want to live on the surface, act like everything's great in their relationship, and act like we have great sex, and then she barely has a clitoral orgasm, but once a year, right? No. That's not you. If that were you, you would have gone away from this podcast a long time ago and you wouldn't be listening to me still. So I'm not even concerned about those people because they're not here listening to me anymore. So that's the somatic, okay? You're also going to have a deeper emotional connection with your partner because you are going to meet your partner's inner child. Now, I would assume that many of you who listen to my podcast have heard of your inner child. You've maybe done inner child work before. Most of my clients are very advanced in their personal growth and development already. So this word probably isn't new for you, but if you're out there and you're like, inner child, what is that? That is just a part of your inner psychology That is usually the default. So we will usually act and behave in relationship based on whatever our younger self was taught about relationship and pleasure and sex. And most of the time, actually, like almost all the time, this is problematic because who wants their inner child showing up in their adult sexual experiences? It's just not the place for your inner child to show up. Yet that's what we are all doing in relationship and sexuality. We are showing up as younger versions of ourselves with unconscious beliefs, unconscious stories that we live out in our adult relationships that are very much causing pain. So much pain, it's not even funny. So if you have ever experienced pain within your relationship, guaranteed it is because your inner child is not on the same page with your current belief system about how pleasure and sex and relationships should be going. And that is why we have to upgrade the story and reparent the inner child, because she no longer has a place to be showing up in your adult relationships and your adult sex life when she has these really fucked up beliefs and stories about everything, okay? So when you are doing sexual healing work together, at some point in our coaching together, you will meet each other's inner child. And don't sit here and tell me that when you see this in your partner and you recognize it in your partner, that you're not going to have a stronger emotional connection to them. Of freaking course you are. And you know the fun thing about meeting each other's inner child is that you can't ever not see it. So when you see your partner being triggered, when you see your partner storming off, when they got all mad at you for some silly reason and you're like, what the hell just happened? Promise you, that's your partner's inner child showing up. And the wonderful thing about this is that when you start to see that, this is when you also get to start calling forward each other's inner king and queen of relationship. The sky is the limit here. That's a completely different topic, so I'm not going to go into that for the day. But you are going to have a stronger emotional connection with your partner when you do sexual healing work together. Now, the second way that your relationship is going to transform is you're going to have better communication and you're going to trust each other more. When you work through that negative conditioning around pleasure, sex, and relationships, you're going to be working through the embedded guilt, shame, fear, and disgust, all of it that you have been trying to repress with things like substances, with working too hard, overworking, workaholism, shopping, too much Amazon buying, like whatever the fuck it is, right? Too much Netflix watching. I don't know what you do for your things, but everybody seems to have their thing, right? So all of the ways that you repress these things unconsciously, when you do the sexual healing work, you are doing shadow work. It is the only form of shadow work that you will ever need. People talk about shadow work all of the time, and I'm like, well, have you ever done sexuality work? And then most of them are like, no. I'm like, well, that's all the shadow work you're ever going to need, I promise. It's really true. Trust me. So you do sexual healing work, you're going to do the shadow work, which is, what is that? For some of you, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. You've heard of it. You've done it before, but you haven't done it around sexuality, and that's why you're listening to this here today. But if you don't know what shadow work is, it just means the unconscious parts and pieces of your psyche that you don't see and you don't recognize because you are not aware of them, that are keeping you from what you want. So shadow work, all that means is that you are becoming aware of the parts of you that are hidden in the shadow. You're putting light on those unconscious pieces to look at them, to see how they're showing up in your life unconsciously. You're making it conscious. And when you make it conscious, you can make a decision to choose something else instead, which is the beauty of shadow work. All right. So better communication, more trust, because when you are doing shadow work, you are going to learn to master your emotions. And when you master your emotions, and you're taking responsibility for your emotional territory, you create space for your partner to trust you more. And when your partner is taking responsibility for their own emotional territory, you trust your partner more because they are no longer putting their emotional burden on you, because that sucks. You can't control, you can't fix their emotional state. You can't do anything about it. That's why they have to be responsible for their emotional territory. People lose trust in each other, couples lose trust in each other when they keep trying to give the responsibility of managing the emotional territory to the other partner. And then you're like, I'm trying to manage your emotions, but I can't. And then that creates so many issues that I don't even need to go into all of the issues, but it's a big, big, big problem. So when you're doing shadow work, you're learning to master your emotional territory. You are learning to establish and enforce boundaries and to identify who is showing up right now so we can call forward the inner king and queen of relationship, or your inner king and queen of sex and pleasure and primal, gorgeous wildness, right? So we don't want these wounded versions of ourselves coming out in our sexual experiences. We want the highest version of ourselves to come forward in these experiences. And the more we choose to step up how we show up in our pleasure and sexual experiences and in our relationship, the more our partner is going to trust us. And, I don't think after what I just shared with you that you could tell me that you could go to the depths of your psyche to really learn who you are and not learn how to better communicate what you're experiencing to your partner. Lack of communication happens because you don't understand you. You don't know what's going on with you. You're unaware. Communication sucks when you can't articulate what you are experiencing to your partner. Does this make sense? I hope this makes sense, because this is it. This is all there is in terms of terrible communication with couples. The reason your communication sucks is because you don't know who you are or what you want and need. You are unaware of your own needs. You're unaware of your own boundaries. You're unaware of what your desires are. So when you go to the depth of your psyche and learn who you are, when you learn about your shadow aspects, when you learn about your emotional territory and how to master it, when you learn about your inner child, well, now you have the language to communicate because you are aware. Yes. Your relationship is going to transform in a third way. Now that you have more emotional connection, you're communicating better, you trust each other again. Now you're going to have renewed sexual passion and creativity. No one gives pussy and penis healing massages and isn't transformed in some way or another. Okay, you do all of that de-armoring work I told you about in the beginning of this episode, and eventually you're going to tap into deep wells that seem to be absolutely infinite wells of passion and pleasure and creative flow. Okay, so exploring new techniques, new practices, and activities can bring creativity and excitement back into your sex life, transforming things that were once stagnant and dull and just routine into, oh my God, look at all of the aliveness there is in my body. Look at the passion that exists in my body. And when we wake that up inside, there's no going back. There's no more dulling and dimming the light switch. Okay. Once that's awake and the colors become more colorful and you start to wake up inside, that passion, that creativity, that is what is required to fuel successful businesses. That is what is required to create children in the most conscious way. That is what is required to create your highest form of art in the world. That is why sexual healing work together can be so powerful, because, it's going to wake up your passion and creativity. And when we're not feeling passionate or creative in our life, guaranteed, we're not making the money that we could be making. We're not making the impact on the world that we could be making. We're not putting our best art and work out there in the world that we could be doing. Okay, now the fourth and final way that your relationship is going to transform after doing sexual healing work is, this one's fun, shared spiritual experiences, and of course, more pleasure. Sexual healing work has its roots in Tantra. It's almost impossible to do sexual healing with each other and not have a profound shared spiritual experience together. That is the gift of Tantra in and of itself. And I will tell you from my own experience that there is no way that you can do sexual healing work from the Tantric tradition and not experience and see with your own spiritual sight and feel in your body like you have just touched God or goddess, whatever you want to call it, within each other. The Western world does not have words for this phenomenon. It really doesn't. There's no place in Western religion where a couple can engage in a shared spiritual experience. There's no place for that. If anything, spiritual experiences are something that are between you and God alone, or you and a priest and God, but not you and your partner. This process of sexually healing together, it allows partners to connect on a deeper spiritual level, to experience God within their shared sexual connection, which obviously leads to pleasure beyond your wildest dreams. Okay? When you see the God and goddess in your partner's body and in their mind's eye, when you see that, holy fuck. The amount of pleasure that becomes available to you, the ecstasy, like I can't even call it pleasure because that's not a good enough word for it. It is ecstasy. It is bliss. The Tantrics had a way of helping humans experience these spiritual states while not leaving their sexuality out of the picture. But you could actually use sexuality as a path to discover the truth of God, to discover highest consciousness and deepest love. And that is one of the most exquisite things about the Tantric tradition, is that it does allow partners to do and to touch this part of God with each other, that they experience it through each other and only through each other in this instance, right? So having that shared spiritual experience leads to ecstatic and blissful states that you're just not going to get to on your own. Can you experience ecstasy and bliss on your own? Absolutely. But you can also do it with a partner. So why not if you can? It's really amazing to do that. So, all right, loves, these were the 4 ways your relationship is going to transform after doing sexual healing work together. You're going to have a deeper emotional connection. You're going to communicate better, and you're going to have more trust. You're going to renew sexual passion and revive creativity. And you're going to have shared spiritual experiences that lead to ecstasy and bliss. If this is something that you're like, oh, hell yes, sign me up, I have the courage and heart for that shit, then what you need to do is you need to go book the call for the Epic Sex Blueprint program. This is an application call, meaning that you get on the call, you are getting on Zoom with me with your partner. Both of you must be on the call or I will not take the call. You will both get on the call and we will discuss where you're currently at in your sex life, in your relationship. We will talk about what you want to create, what the specific blocks and obstacles are on the way of you creating what you want. And if I feel like I can help you get through those blocks and obstacles, we will talk about the details of the program and we will decide together whether or not this is the right thing for you. And if it is, then if you sign up by June 30th, you're going to get a special fast action bonus or early bird bonus. Sorry, not fast action, an early bird bonus. And if you sign up between July 1st and July 8th, you're going to get the regular price. So I highly encourage you to go book the call now. You're going to answer a couple of questions after you book the date and time. And then once we meet on the call, we'll take it from there. But this is the work that we do in the Epic Sex Blueprint program, is that you are going to do all of that shadow work. You're going to meet each other's inner child. This stuff isn't stuff you can do on your own. I wish I could give you a video for it and say, yeah, just go read a book. No, that's not how it works. It's like trying to perform open heart surgery on yourself. You can't do that shit on yourself, okay? So don't even attempt to do shadow work or inner child work on yourself, because it will not work. I promise you. It's not meant to do on your own. You can't see it. And it's called the shadow for a reason, because you can't see it. So you need someone to shine a light on it and to point you in the direction of the thing you can't see. Only someone that's standing outside who's looking down into your psyche can even see it. So, my loves, this is what we're doing in the coaching portion of the Epic Sex Blueprint program. Yes, sure, you have 10 amazing date nights that you're going to do. It's going to be absolutely epic. But you're also going to receive the coaching and the support to do the things that I've just shared with you today. All right. You're going to have the pussy and the penis massage. So that's your first 2 date nights. So you're going to do this healing massage on each other. But you're going to need the coaching and the support to begin to work through some of these shadow aspects that we have tilled to the surface, because baby, they are going to come up. I promise you. So go book that call. Let's get you on Zoom and let's figure out if this is the right thing for you. I only have 2 spots available. 2. That is all. 2 couples for the rest of 2024. So, early bird discount through June 30th. If you wait, you're going to pay more. It is open through July 8th. That's why I encourage you to book it now. All right, loves. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.